Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of the Carla Palmer Show. Appreciate your presence. Thank you guys for joining today. We have a really great show in store for you, and I hope that you will get something out of it. My goal is to inspire you to take the next step toward living and optimally well, towards optimal living. So today we've got 2 great guests on, and I will introduce them in just a moment. But first, I want to introduce who I am. My name is Carla Palmer, and I started this show because I wanted to create a platform where I can invite guests on to help my audience learn how to move forward in their lives, right? And so we'll be focusing on different topics that relate to getting to the next level of living well. And so when you think about that and you think about a holistic approach to wellness, there are many different areas that we could work on to get to that next level. And so what I do is I bring guests on to the Carla Palmer Show that will help us do that. Thank you for joining. I appreciate your presence, Saul. I love seeing you here every Sunday. Thank you for joining. Saul is all the way in Thailand, for those of you who don't know. So I appreciate you joining, Saul. Thank you. So I want to bring our guests on for today. Let's see here. I want to show my guests. And there they are. So we have Jonathan Palmer, who is joining us, and we have Lisa Catalano joining us. And usually I'll read a bio on my guest, okay? So usually I read a bio, and sometimes, that does what it needs to do. But I thought today they could just introduce themselves because I think that they could do a much better job than I could introducing them. Today we are talking about growth and getting out of your comfort zone in order to move to the next level of whatever it is that you're trying to do. It's a really important topic. And the reason why I came up with this topic today is because I was going through Facebook, and in my Facebook feed, I saw this TED Talk. And there was this guy talking. His name was Bill Ekstrom. And he was talking about a time when he got fired from his job. He got fired and he didn't know what to do. He thought his world was like crumbling down and didn't know what to do. He was married. He had children. It came unexpectedly. And he just, he didn't know what he was going to do. So he had this thing where he started to think about what getting out of your comfort zone means, right? Because he was forced out of his comfort zone. And so he created this thing called the growth rings. And there are 4 different growth rings. One of them is chaos. One of them is complexity. And then there's order. And then there's stagnation. And he said that we need to focus on stagnation and order, and moving from stagnation to order is important. But what's more important is moving from order to complexity. And complexity is the part where it's like, okay, when you're in order, it's predictable. You know what's going to happen next because your life is in order, right? And it can be really comfortable and you think everything is good, but it doesn't get you to the next level. When you're forced to move out of order to complexity, or you move yourself from order to complexity, then is where the growth happens. You can see it in fitness, when you're trying to do something different in your fitness, like you are moved out of your comfort zone. Like say, for example, you can't run a mile, but you keep getting out there and you keep going. And sooner than later, you're out there running 5 miles, right? Because you've gotten in the stretch, you stretched yourself. And so that is why it's so important for us to have this conversation today. And that's why I brought these 2 really special guests on to the show today. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Who wants to go first? Jonathan and Lisa. Who's going first?
Lisa, you can go first.
Lisa, go first. Go first. You have your comfort zone and go first.
I'll say that this show being about getting out of your comfort zone is that for me doing a live show. This is the first time I've done a live show, so I'm super far out of my comfort zone just in doing this. And I think Jonathan shares that sentiment. So I'll just introduce myself, Lisa Catalano. And like the gentleman that you were talking about in the TED Talk a couple years ago, 2 years ago in January, actually, I had moved back to Tulsa thinking that I was getting my dream job, and I'd gone to training and all the things looked like they were fitting together, that I was going to get to start my dream job. And 2 weeks before I was about to start, I'd gotten a home here and all that stuff. And 2 weeks before I was going to start, they changed directions and hired someone else for my dream job. I love who they chose. He's a friend of mine, actually, and we still support each other. but I sat there going, what in the world am I doing now? And I'm a woman of faith. And so I sat in my house, and everything I thought was going to happen didn't. Everything I've been preparing for did not. And so I thought, okay, Lord, why am I here? What do I do next? And I know most of us can relate to one of those moments where everything you thought was going to happen doesn't, and you don't know where to go. And so for me, that was when I just felt like the Lord said to me to just say yes. And that is such a frightening thing. I have a long history in working at different churches and working in different ministries with children's music, children, being the children's ministry director, and also being in the music ministries at different churches since I was like 14. So for years and years and years, I've been on staff at church, and that's kind of been what I've done. And here I was without a job, and my kids had just gone off to college, and it was like, what do I do? And I felt like the Lord just said yes. And so I said, all right, this is a huge out of my comfort zone, like we're talking about today, not having the stability of a job and all those things. And so I just said, okay, I'll say yes. And so the very next day, I had a young woman approach me. It said, Mama Lisa, I have nowhere to go. Can I stay with you for a couple of days? And I was like, yes, I guess that's when I get to say that. And so in the past 2 years, I've just seen all these yeses that I've said as they've come up have turned into this beautiful ministry that I get to do out of my home. That we've seen kids, I say kids, they're millennials. They're anywhere from 18 to, gosh, we have all the way up to 86. I'm not going to lie. So kids is relative. The bulk of who I get to love on every day are millennial generation. And so I've watched so many of them find home and family here with us and get off the streets, get off drugs, other, addictions, and just have such a beautiful community where we love each other without agenda and without condition. And it is amazing what we've seen. And it came from a place where I was desperate and in faith just said, okay, yes. And so we've just had so many beautiful things happen. I could go on and on and on, but we need to introduce Jonathan still. So let's do that.
But the name of your organization is?
Lisa's House Ministries.
Okay.
And we're 501c3 and the whole nine, but it started with just a simple yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's awesome. Jonathan, can you introduce who you are and what you do?
Hello. I'm Carla.
Hi.
I'm actually Carla's big brother. So for those of you who don't know who I am, so I'm honored to be on your show, Carla. I'm so proud of you for doing this. Yeah. And I know this is out of my comfort zone for sure. So I am from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Grew up in Tulsa, born and raised here. I come from a sales background. I've been in sales for about 20 years, and I had some success in sales, and also come from the wireless industry as well. And I wanted to get out though and do some different things. And when I was selling cars, I was seeing people who was having issues with credit, and I also had some issues with credit as well. Back, I say about 15 years ago, I had some problems with credit. And so I saw a need that needed to be filled. And so I started, I guess about a year and a half ago, said I want to break out and start a credit repair business. So started doing that and started seeing some success in that, and also started to see other people who would like to be, a part of what I was doing. So at that moment, I said, this is going to be great, and I can add some other things to be able to help people with cash flow and also debt. So I focus on debt, cash flow, credit, and tax strategies. Those are my focuses.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So, you guys are both doing some really amazing work, and you are really in the stretch, as Lisa explained, like how it all came to fruition with her business, and how Jonathan, he took a leap of faith and started his own business. How does faith play into how you guys operate as entrepreneurs, as people who are running your own business? And also in that, I would like for you to, just give a little bit of advice to people who may not have their own business, but they may be wanting to get in the stretch at their own companies or organizations where they work. How does faith play into that?
Well, for me, faith is everything. I grew up in a Christian-based home. My father was a minister, a pastor. Mother, being a Christian woman as well by his side, and we were always taught to have faith. But you have to also work. Faith without works is dead. So you have to get out there and do the work. But if without my faith, I would be lost. So I absolutely have to have faith and really just go back to my grounding of where how I was raised. So some of you who don't have faith, it's one of those things that you can't see. Even stepping out as an entrepreneur, you can't see where you're going. That's where the faith kicks in. So because of my background and reading different books and reading the Bible, I actually understand how to work and how faith works. So it's something you can't see, but I know it's there.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Lisa?
Oh, well, with what I do, it's at the center of everything. So my faith in God is what is my why. We I hear a lot of people say, "What's your why?" And that is to me the biggest why that I have. And when you're working with people that are hurting or just doing life with people, there's hard days and there's really hard days, and if you don't have that grounding in for me in my faith and how much I know that I'm loved by God,
Mm-hmm.
and how much the people I'm working with are loved by God, if I didn't have that at the center, it would just it would be so discouraging. It keeps me going. Like Jonathan was saying, I hold on to scriptures, and prayer is a big part of what we do here. But also with that, I come from the way we kind of come about things is that we love without agenda. So sometimes I've seen where people use faith as a manipulation, maybe. Or if you don't believe what I believe, then you're not really welcome and we're not going to connect. And that's something I'm really grateful for here, is that it's wherever you're at on your journey of faith, whether you ever believe what we believe or not, we're here to love and to walk with you and to support you and to love without any agenda. I have a saying that if you love with no agenda, you have a 100% success rate. So if I expect nothing from you but to love you, then I can't be disappointed by that, right? Because I'm not trying to get you to do something by loving you. And so I think that where that plays in with my faith then is when it gets hard to love people, that my faith keeps me grounded and that love flowing through me, because it comes from, and for me, I get that from my Father in heaven. That's how I see that.
Yeah, and I think that's you put that so beautifully, and I think it's important for people to remember not only to apply that in business, but also to apply it in relationships. I think it's something that really, like exactly the way that you put it, is loving without expectation and really having faith that you're in the right place and that everything is going to be okay. I think it's important for people to remember that, not just in business, but also in relationships.
Yeah.
You guys are so inspiring. I want to share a little bit about my own faith and my own career. About over like a little bit over a year and a half ago, I was working at the same place where I'm working now, but I've been there for about 15 years. And we got a new CEO, and everybody knows, when a new person comes in to take over, a lot of things happen. Like there are some shifts that happen, like the same thing that happens with acquisitions, and people get downsized or people, get moved to another department. And so for me, I was given a choice. I could leave because they were dismantling the program that I was in charge of, or I could take another position, and that was in fundraising. And I had to take a leap of faith. And as I was going, from this place of order to complexity, and for me, it was a complex thing because I didn't know what's going to happen. I wouldn't know what's going to happen. And being in fundraising is not something that's predictable, right? So what you're out there doing, trying to raise money, Lisa, you probably know about trying to raise money because you're a 501c3 organization as well. And so you have to raise money, but your role is really, really important because as a fundraiser, if the money doesn't come in, the programs don't run.
Yes.
And so me as a Christian with no background in sales, no background in fundraising, but I am a Christian, and I know that God is really, he's almighty, and he can do whatever. It doesn't matter what kind of background I have. Now I'm soaring in my position because I believed that I could do it, because I knew that the Lord would help me get to where I needed to go. Now, I'm not like the #1 fundraiser in the world, but I've been able to do a lot of amazing work in my new role. And so I believe that faith had a lot to do with that. And God really like just being behind me and everything that I do out in that community, really trying to build those relationships and get those funds in. So I love that. I love that we talked about that. What is something that entrepreneurs really need to remember as they're stepping outside of their comfort zone? I mean, we talked about faith, but what are some other things that entrepreneurs could really, some advice that you could give entrepreneurs that they could really hold on to as they get out of their zone of comfort? Because there are a lot of people who want to start their own businesses. There are a lot of people who want to get out of relationships that, I'm not just talking about entrepreneurs, but out of relationships that aren't healthy. What is some advice that you guys, starting with Lisa, that you would give to somebody who's trying to move on and move forward?
Yeah, I think for me, a big thing is just, you don't have to see the end from the beginning.
Okay.
And so if you know the first step to take, just take that one step. And a lot of times the next step will present itself after that. So I have, and I'll let Jonathan talk a little bit more about that, because I know that's a big thing for him. But I know for me, I have this thing where, because all of this is new to me. Like I said, I've always worked within the structure of a church, and this is all Lisa's House Ministries is just flying solo, if you will, with a lot of love and support, but still without the structure of a bigger body around it. And so I've learned to just kind of, I have this thing where if I'm starting to feel frazzled by the bigger decisions, then I kind of get myself centered back and say, okay, Lord, what am I supposed to do for the next 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And if I can just focus on the next 10 minutes, and then the next 10 minutes and the next 10 minutes, then that overwhelm of the bigger thing, there's peace in that. And then I look back and go, oh, how did we do all that today? But we did it in 10-minute increments, you know what I mean? And so and that relates to what I'm doing here now. That relates to when I got a divorce, years and years ago. It was like, okay, now I'm a single mom. How do I do this? And so it's like, what do I do the next 10 minutes? Just feed the kids. Okay, let's do that. Then what do I do?
Yeah.
And so not getting overwhelmed by the having to know all of the answers right away. What would you say, Jonathan?
Jonathan, what would you say?
I'm here. Well, for me, the thing that I look at is just to start. We're not going to know all the answers in the beginning, but there's and also too, help me is getting a mentor. You can have more than one, but having a mentor, someone who's been down that path before, who can help you. People really want to help. If you will ask questions, you'd be surprised how many people are willing to help you with your journey. So 2 things is just start. The answers will come. It's kind of scary at first, I know it is, but get out there and just start. And then also too, find a mentor. It could be a pastor, it could be someone you see online somewhere. Anyone that's done what you're trying to do would be someone you can talk to that would be willing to support you in your endeavor. So those 2 things are really important for me: mentors and just to start. Don't keep putting it off and saying, well, I don't know the answers. They'll come to you. You'll find them. People will help you. Get out there and just try.
Yeah. And, I love that you're saying mentors, and I love that you're saying, Lauren says that mentorship is so important. She says it's so important. Lauren, thank you for that. And I agree. And the thing that I really liked about what you said about mentorship and where you can find it online. You can find it in a book. It doesn't have to be a person that you physically ask to be your mentor. In this world of social media and YouTube, find somebody that you admire, the people that you look up to and what they're doing, and the examples that they're putting out there for you to achieve the sort of success that they have. It's important. Now, if you want to find a physical mentor, a person who will actually mentor you, One of the best tips that I heard somebody say is, if you're trying to get somebody to be your mentor, with this, you guys, that's a job, okay? Somebody being your mentor, that's a huge ask for someone. And 9 times out of 10, if anybody asks me to be their mentor, I'm not signing up for that right away. What I'm going to want to see from you is what you do with a little bit of information that I give you. And that is what most successful people do. I am not like the most successful person in the world, but I'm busy, okay? And most successful people are busy. And so what you do is, if you see somebody that you want to ask to be your mentor, you see them and you say, hey, ask them one question. Ask them one question, like a piece of advice. And whatever they tell you to do, you go and do it. And once you've gone and done it, then you go back to them and you show them how you implemented what they asked you to do, or the advice that they gave you. And then once you do that, you get another piece of advice. And if you go back and forth with that for a couple of times, then they will see that you are worth that investment of their time. But they're not going to automatically sign up to be your mentor until you show them that you are somebody who implements with the information that they give. I don't know how many times somebody has written me a question, right? A little 1-sentence question, an email, and I've written back with a whole bunch of stuff, right? Whole bunch of, like, because I'm loving and I want to support. They get, you know what I get back? Oh yeah, that's cool. I'll have to try that sometime. What? Do you know what I just gave you? Do you know how much time it just took me to give you all of that? You know, and so that is why people don't automatically sign up to be your mentor. So I love that you said that, Jonathan. I appreciate that. Lisa, would you agree with what he's saying about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think mentoring is extremely important. We do that here, and I think I just want to speak to what you said and speak to those that are thinking about being a mentor, not on the other side of it, because I think what you just said is great. That people, if you're mentoring someone, you want to feel like they're actually going to take what you're giving them and implement it and see growth. And so with that, because I have the privilege of mentoring quite a good group of young adults, and so I want to speak to people that they're hungry for it. So young adults are really hungry for people that are willing to get in the trenches with them and mentor them. I think that a lot of times older adults think nobody wants to hear what you have to say. You know what I mean? These young punks, right, aren't going to listen. And I found that to not be true. They are so hungry for someone that's further on the journey than them to turn around and say, hey, this is how I got here. And so I want to encourage those that are thinking about being a mentor to just be on the lookout for that, because and find ways to connect, because they really are hungry and need it. And to be patient. So what I've found is a lot of them will grow for a couple of months, and then they'll kind of have a panic button that they hit a couple months in, and shoot themselves in the foot, if you will. And you gotta, as a mentor, be willing to love them through that part too. But that's part of mentoring them into growth. And so anyway, so I just want to speak to encouraging those that are thinking about mentoring, that it's needed. And so push through that part. And those that are being mentored, yes, take what's being given, value it, and put it into practice. So.
We have someone, Sanana, who has a question for you. Lisa, how often does that happen to you? What do you do when people don't value your advice?
Well, that's a great question, Sanana. Thank you for that. It happens for sure. And that's where I go back to that loving without an agenda. And just because someone isn't able to value your advice in that moment, it doesn't mean later on they won't be reminded of it, and it won't be important for them in another moment in their life. And so I try to, that's when I go back to that every 10 minutes and loving with no agenda. And so I would say, Sanana, when you have people that are not necessarily listening, is number one, the question is, are you offering something that you're not supposed to offer in that moment? And are you, if you are supposed to offer it, trusting that the timing will be there when they'll be able to receive it, and it might not look the way you want it to look.
Mm-hmm. She also wants to know if you ever say, I told you so.
I try not to, but every once in a while maybe. But I try not to. I try to say it gently. I may say, we mentioned this before, but maybe not. I told you so.
Exactly. Lisa, can you give an example of a success story with working with young people and the young people that you work with? I mean, all of them are there. They're there with you and they're growing and they're getting in the stretch. And I was just wondering if you would be able to share like a success story of working with one of your young people at Lisa's House Ministries.
I can try to. There's so many success stories.
I know.
And they're little precious private stories, a lot of them. So I'll try to give maybe a little broader paintbrush, if you will, to that. Because this year, we don't have any program that's specifically designed for drug addiction, being walking out of drug addiction. Our program is totally based in love and community and unconditional love and community. And so just in the past year, we've had 7 of our young adults celebrate being free from drug addictions for over a year. And that just blows my mind. And we've had so many young adults this year, not just young adults, but adults. Depression and suicide is rampant. People really struggle with that. And so I've had story after story after story of people that have found community here that were suicidal before they came, and now they're planning their future, and they're starting in at a university or a new job or whatever, and it's just that those kinds of things are, I don't want to say a specific story because I don't want to call anybody out, but at those things I just are amazing to me. We've had several, well, I don't want to say several, we've had at least 5 young women that were stripping when they came, that have gone from stripping and often with the stripping being homeless, and have gone from that place to being full-time college students or fully employed, and off the streets. And I just am amazed by that. And it's love. I mean, that the love of God just, it's amazing. It's so much more powerful than hate. And so anyway, so that, there's so many success stories.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing that you're doing. And I think it's so needed, for young people to be able to come somewhere and not be judged, and really being able to just open up and share their stories and their experiences, whether they're good or bad, and have somebody just love them unconditionally. So I love what you're doing, which is one of the reasons why I support your ministry. And hopefully after this broadcast, we'll get even more people supporting your ministry. Jonathan.
Yes.
Jonathan, I have a question for you from Christopher. And Christopher wants to know, Jonathan, what would you say is the first step to financial freedom for us, those of us who are in or just getting out of college? Oh, what a great question. Because, it's a little, you got to get uncomfortable, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I would say going back it's just finding somebody to mentor you, and also too, when you get that job, learn how to save. As young people, we want to start buying stuff. We get that job, and we've gone through school. Now it's time to start buying things. It's not okay. So finding someone who can help you with budgeting, and also someone to hold you accountable for your spending, is very important. So you don't want to get into a place where you're buying things, or you get that first credit card and now you're starting to charge stuff up and get in a bunch of debt. So watch the credit cards, don't get in a bunch of debt, and ask questions and save your money. You have to save. Yeah.
I use that every dollar app. Have you heard of that, Jonathan?
No, I haven't.
So Dave Ramsey, I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey. So Dave Ramsey has this app called the Every Dollar app. And you track every dollar. So when you have checks coming in, whether your paycheck or whatever, you put in what the paycheck amount is, and then you allocate money towards all of your things that you need, your basic needs, your wants for that month, whatever you want to buy that month. And then of course, like you said about the saving, you're paying yourself. And I think this is a great conversation for this topic, because sometimes it's a little uncomfortable not being able to do what you want to do with your money. But if you want financial freedom, which is what Jonathan is trying to help people achieve, which is where I am, and it feels really great to be debt free. It feels good to be debt free. Yes. But you get debt free by making sacrifices, and those sacrifices aren't always comfortable. They're not. No. Because your friends are spending their money. Your friends are getting fly, man. Your friends got the latest Jordans. Your friends got the Louis Vuitton bags. Like, my friends are like super fly. I don't know what their financial situation is, but I know one thing: I have financial freedom. And at some point I want to be a homeowner. So, you know, it's like you make those decisions, and sometimes it's not comfortable or fun, but, you know, I'm sure Jonathan would agree. Like you said, like, save your money, pay yourself, pay more of your college debt down, more than it says that you need to pay each month, because you're just paying interest. So if you can suck it up and eat beans and rice, I'm serious. And then use that extra, no money's extra, but use those funds that aren't going towards eating out, use that to pay down some of your debt a lot quicker. I think that you will be very, very happy about the end results there. So, pay yourself, right, Jonathan?
Pay yourself first, for sure.
Yes. Pay yourself first, yes. Do we have any other questions? Because I want to make sure that we get everybody's questions answered as we continue on with this conversation. Hi, Ed. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you joining today. The other question, Ed said yes. The other question I want to ask is that you guys give your information where people can find you. I don't want to wait too late in the show for you guys to share that information. So if you can let people know where to find you, that would be really great.
Okay. For me, the best place would be lisashouseministries.org. That has ways to donate and email and address, all that stuff, phone number, everything. So lisashouseministries.org.
Okay. So if Lisa, if somebody said, you know what, Lisa, I love what you're doing. I don't have a lot of money, but I can give you $10 a month. Would that help you?
Yes, absolutely.
Right? That would help you, right?
$1 helps some days. I'm not kidding. It's we feed in the house extra every week on a weekly basis. Now, I say between 50 to 75, but my daughter's been telling me, she's my chief operations gal, and she said, Mom, that number's gone way up. So say 75 extra meals a week. On top of Sundays, we feed at 30. So there's $1 helps, $10 helps. You know, we've got a Change is Good campaign going on right now where we're connecting change. And my daughter keeps saying, you know, we take stuff that folds too.
Right.
But our Change is Good campaign was motivated by Jordan, actually, and Grandma.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome, right?
That change adds up. So everything helps. Everything helps. Yeah.
What she's talking about, you guys, for Christmas, my mom gave my son this big jar full of change that she had been saving for him for a year or two, something like that. Yeah. And it ended up being like hundreds of dollars in there. And so I guess Lisa was inspired by that, because when he took it to the credit union in Tulsa while we were home for Christmas to open up his credit union account, he has the money up in there. So I guess you were inspired by that. Yeah. Saul has a question for you, Lisa, and then Jonathan can get his information in. Lisa, Wanda wants to know where you're located.
Tulsa. We're in Tulsa, Oklahoma. If you're in Tulsa, it's near the Brookside area.
Okay. And then Saul wants to know, where does Lisa's Ministries get their income from? Private donors?
Yes, it's all privately funded, and we are grateful for that, and we're as it's expanding, we've quadrupled in size in the past year, which is it just shows how much of a need there is for it. But and so we're hoping to quadruple donations.
Yeah.
In that, it's just real as part of the deal. And so so far it's all just privately. People have donated generously, and some people give $5 a month, and some people are able to do more than that, but it all helps. Thanks for
Yeah.
that question.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then we have a question for Jonathan before Jonathan gives his information. So Nana wants to know, Jonathan, chivalry seems to be dead. How can millennials get chivalry in the stretch? How do we bring it back to life?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
You know, it's not really dead. It's just so hard to find someone who still has that. So, you know, I would just start with the simple things. You know, just manners is one thing. You know, and please and thank you, and how may I help you? What can I do for you? You know, putting somebody else before you is I think is important. Most people are so selfish these days. You know, guys are selfish, women are selfish. It's all about them. It needs to be about somebody else. You know, and that's a good place to start. You know, how can I make your life easier? You know, grab a door for somebody. You know, offer to bring them something. Simple thing. Don't make it complicated. Just put somebody else before you. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. And I like that too, because you didn't relate it to money. And I think so often when people are dating, you know, they think about chivalry as like, you know, the man taking them on like lavish dates and like all this stuff. Like it's really important to definitely use your manners, right? And be creative. You know, millennials need to be creative because y'all don't have money like that. And you can be creative as a man, and you can take a woman on a nice date in the park with a picnic basket and some sandwiches you made at the house. Okay. And if she's for you and she cares about you and wants to get to know who you are, that does not have to be over dinner at a restaurant, because you guys aren't there yet. You know, you guys have goals that you're trying to reach. Like the person who was talking about earlier, how to pay off college debt. It's about being smart, and it's about being creative, and it's about being understanding and having somebody whose values match yours. And if it's not there, then it's not a good fit, because as millennials, there are things that you have prioritized. And one of those things is you prioritize being, you know, faithful to God and really being faithful to your money and respecting that. And at the end of the day, you know, those two things are like really important. So chivalry does not have a lot to do with money. It doesn't. And I like the way that you didn't even connect the two. Jonathan, I do want to give your information here, and you can also let people know where they can find you. I have your phone number here, your email, but you can say whatever else you want to say about that.
Phone number is the best way. One way is phone number 918-401-0791. You can call me or text me, so I can actually, you know, talk to you about what you may need. You know, sometimes people want to just jump into what they think you need, but it's good to ask questions and really care about what people actually need from there. And then also too, my email is goodcreditpeople@gmail.com. goodcreditpeople@gmail.com, and on Facebook, Facebook.com/JCP Financial Fitness.
Yeah, thank you. And what I want to add about the financial fitness, you guys, that is a part of getting out of your comfort zone, because finances that's a really personal thing. Okay, it's a very personal thing. So often people don't want other people to know what kind of situation they're in with their finances. But if you're just sitting there and you're avoiding it, it's only going to get worse. And you know, you think you're comfortable, but you're not. Your life could be so much better if you address the issue, and really just paying attention to what it is that you need. And that might mean that you need to meet with somebody like Jonathan, you know, and that might mean that you need to show him like what's going on with your financial health and get some help there. It's stepping out of your comfort zone, but you're stepping out of your comfort zone and getting in the stretch to be better. And as we wind up the show, like one of the things that I want to say, and I want Lisa and both Jonathan to add closing remarks, but what I want to say is look at your life, okay? Look at all of the things that you've been through in your life. And some of us have been through some really amazing feats and challenges, right? I've been through a lot. It would take another whole show and a half for me to tell you all of the things that I've overcome, but I've overcome them, right? And I'm not where I was yesterday. And I've been out of my comfort zone on so many occasions right? So if you think about the things that have happened in your life and you've been able to be successful there, just go back to that. Whenever you're thinking about, oh, I don't know, I don't want to try that, put your mama voice on and your daddy voice on and tell yourself, you can do this. Remember how far you've come. Remember when you got moved out of your apartment and you didn't know where you were going to be. Do you remember, when you lost your job and you know how you were going to pay your rent? Do you remember? I remember when I was first about to go on my first flight out of the country. I still don't like to fly, y'all. My first flight out of the country, I was on my way to Italy, and I cried and cried and cried the night before because I did not want to be on a flight that long. I was so scared. I almost called my friend to tell her that I was not going on this amazing bike wine tour through Tuscany. I almost said, you know what? I don't know if I want to go because I was scared to get on the flight. And ever since that was in 2012, y'all, I go somewhere every year out of the country now because I look back at that situation and I'm like, you got on the plane and you went and you were fine and you had a wonderful time and everything was beautiful and you had the most amazing, memorable experience that money cannot buy. And so you have to look back at the things that were challenging and scary and tell yourself, well, I did that, so I can do this. So that's what I want to end as my closing remark. But I also want Lisa and Jonathan, if you have anything to end this with, that would be great to hear your remarks as well.
Jonathan, you want to go first?
Go ahead. I'll let you have
Go ahead, Lisa.
Okay. So I would say closing, I think that for me, one of the things about the time that we live in right now is like Jonathan was saying, we live in a very selfish world. And unfortunately, when we're self-focused so much, it gets really depressing. And we miss out on a lot of the beauty that's out there. And so I'll say that in times when you're finding yourself really depressed, you're probably really self-focused. And I've had times in my life when I didn't know how I was going to get from A to B, right? So I've had times when I had machines that were feeding me and breathing for me, and I wasn't supposed to make it out of a hospital bed, and I have this little thing that I do. So this is a little nugget that I want to just leave everybody with, is that if you are breathing, which is everybody watching, if you're breathing, there's some way you can be a blessing to someone else today. And there were times in the hospital bed when I couldn't talk because I had tubes and everything else, but I could squeeze the hand of the nurse that was coming in and smile at her with my eyes. And in that moment, I was being a blessing to her. And the reaction that I got was just sheer delight on her part. She was having a bad day, and that just made her day, that I would have squeezed her hand and tried to smile at her. So it doesn't matter how bad things might look, how broke you are. You could be homeless. I've been there. You can be in a bad relationship, been there. There's so many of those things. But if every single day you find a way to be a blessing to someone, whether it's just a text message or a hug or a smile, something, then I believe, I'm a woman of faith, so I believe that then the enemy hasn't had the victory that day, that love has had the victory that day, that God has had the victory that day, that was a good day because you found a way to be a blessing. So that is just what I would like to leave with.
I love that. And Jonathan, you?
I like what Lisa said, about putting others first. I'm around a bunch of givers. My mother's a giver. Carla, you've always been a giver. You were two things, a talker and a giver. I remember growing up with Carla, people would ask me what my name was. She would answer. They would ask me, how old are you, Jonathan? Carla would answer. Okay. My mom was like, Carla, he can talk. But let your brother talk. So anyway, but she's a giver. Lisa's a giver. So being around givers, you kind of adopt that giving spirit. So it's important to be around people you want to be like. Also, too, in order for things to change, we have to change. We can't keep doing the same things we did last year, the year before. I had to make some sacrifices the last couple of years. And I said, well, I don't like my life right now. What I'm doing, I'm not happy with. What can I do differently this year to have a better next year? So don't stay in the same spot you're in. If you don't know what to do, ask questions. Reach out to me, call me. I'll help you. I'll give you some motivation. I love fitness and I love finances. So those areas are my passion. So reach out to me. If you have questions about fitness, Carla is a huge success story for me. She started back, what, how long has it been now? 10 years, Carla? You've been working out now?
10 years. Yeah.
And I'm so proud of her now. She has GYSB working for her, and just amazing story. She runs half marathons now. I mean, come on, she surpassed me, and I got her going. Crazy. So just think about this. If you want to change, you have to change what you're doing. You can't do the same things that you've done last year and the year before. So I'm gonna leave it with that.
All right. Amen.
Yeah.
We leaving you with that. And what I want to do, I want to challenge you guys. You don't feel like you're obligated, but I want to challenge you guys. Lisa said $1 would even help. Did you guys hear her say that? Lisa said even $1 would help her ministry. So I would like to say this. Whatever Lisa receives today, okay, I want you guys to give. Whatever Lisa receives today, I will match that. Okay, so whatever you guys give Lisa today, I will match. There is the link there, lisashouseministries.org. Okay, we have, a few more hours. I don't know, Lisa, what do we have until? It's almost 6 o'clock here. So whatever you got, yep. So that's 12 o'clock my time. Whatever you guys donate, I really want you guys to do this, okay? Because I love what she's doing. I know Lisa is a giver, you guys. She is a giver. She gives her heart. She gives her time. She is an amazing, amazing person. So whatever you give today, I will match that. Lisa will tell me tomorrow what she received today from you guys. Come on, let's give this ministry some love. They deserve it. And let's help them continue to grow and thrive and help these young people. Because y'all know, half of y'all, most of us would not open our doors and do this. We would not. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of energy and it takes a lot of patience. All right. So let's do it. Okay. Hi, Marilyn. Thank you for being here, Marilyn. And Terry Little. Thank you guys. So I want you guys to give. Okay. Lisa will let me know tomorrow what comes in, and we're going to match that. The Carla Palmer Show is going to match that. I love you guys. I will see you guys next week. Same time, same place, The Carla Palmer Show. Please follow me on YouTube as well, The Carla Palmer Show on YouTube. And I will see you guys. God bless everybody. You guys, thank you for being my guest today. I love having you guys. And we'll see you soon. All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Don't forget to give. Bye.